Hello everyone, welcome back to MalStorm Gaming. My name is Malachi Gardner. Today I'm going to be playing through Clash of Decks. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Alright, so I have a game of Clash of Decks all set up here, and I have my deck, the two bridge cards, which are player aids on the other side, and then the enemy deck right here. And so in this game, there's going to be these two bridges, and I'm going to be playing my creatures on this side of the bridge, this left side here. Then they're going to be attacking the enemy creatures that are going to be on the right side of the bridge, and the end goal is to destroy the enemy's fort, which is going to be at the bottom of this deck here. So as we deal damage to the enemy, we're going to be discarding cards from the AI's deck, and then once we get to the bottom, we'll destroy the tower, then we'll flip it over, shuffle up the deck again, have to go through the deck one more time, and then we can destroy the fort, and then we'll win the game. So you just have to go through this deck twice. For us, our tower, or rather bastion and fort, it's in our hand, and it's going to start in the leftmost position, and as we take damage, it's going to be moving to the right, and if it ever gets to the rightmost place, flip it over to the fort side, and put it back to the left. If the fort card ever gets to the far right, then the fort is destroyed, and we lose the game. So for both sides, both for us and the AI, the cards are going to be tracking our health. It's just going to be slightly different for both sides. One neat thing with this game is that you have your deck, 8 cards, and then your fort card, but then you're going to shuffle up your deck, and your fort card's always going to start, your fort bastion card's always going to start in the far leftmost space, but these 8 cards that I chose for my deck, or rather I drafted them, they have been shuffled up. And so I cannot rearrange these cards, and so that's kind of neat. And so I can't change the cards up at all in my hand without actually playing them. So that's something just to keep in mind when playing this game. It's not like most games where you can just organize the cards. You need to keep it in the set order because it has a lot of gameplay ramifications. This game is going to be played over the course of several turns. Each turn is going to be divided into 3 different phases. First we have the mana phase, then we have the summon phase, and then the assault phase. So the player always goes first in this game, and you're going to start your turn on the mana phase. So this phase is very quick, very easy. You're going to count the number of cards in your hand, and you always start the game with 9 cards in your hand, and that is how much mana you're going to get. So you have 9 mana to spend on the cards, and each cost is going to be right here in the top left corner. So this Gur costs 2 mana. Now, normally, since I have 9 cards in my hand, I would get 9 mana. But since I'm going first, and this is my first turn, I'm only going to get 6 mana. So that's just kind of a way that they balance the first player, second player thing. But in the future, I will generate mana equal to the number of cards in my hand, but just for the first turn, it's going to be 6. And what's interesting is, as I play cards from my hand, suppose I were to play this troll, now I only have 8 cards in my hand. And so now I'm going to get 8 mana for next turn. But it's interesting, as the more cards you play, the more board presence I'll have, but the lower amounts of mana I'll be getting each turn. So I have my 6 mana, and mana does not carry over from turn to turn, so if you don't spend any mana, it goes away, unfortunately. You can always play the leftmost 4 cards in your hand, ignoring and skipping over the Bastion Fort card. So for now, I can play the Gur, the Revenant, the Alpha, and the Troll. I can't play any of these cards until I play other cards from these selection here. So if I were to play the Troll, then I would gain access to this card. If I were to play another card, then I would gain access to the next card, and so on and so forth. So you essentially always have 4 cards available to you to play. There are 2 types of cards in the game. First, we have the Incantations. These are similar to your instants and sorceries from Magic the Gathering, or your event cards from Lord of the Rings or Marvel Champions. They're going to cost mana up there, so 3 mana for Combustion here, and they're going to do something. In the base game here, all of the Incantation cards deal damage. I don't know if it's going to be different in the future, but all of them are going to deal damage equal to this number here, so 2 damage to a creature, and then they'll have some special abilities. After you play an Incantation, it's going to be placed into your hand on the rightmost space, so I can't play Combustion since it's the 7th card in my hand, but if it were in the first 4 cards in my hand, I could play it, and it would do its thing, and then it would go right here, but it would go right here on top of the Vortex, and it'd be the rightmost card in my hand. So then it goes kind of on cooldown. So that's how Incantations work. Creatures are going to be the bulk of the cards in the game, and they still have a mana cost up here, and then they have an attack stat and a defense stat. So This is how much damage you're going to be able to do when they attack, and this is how much damage they're able to withstand before they are destroyed in an attack. And then, of course, they're also going to have special abilities. And this base game has 8 different abilities, and they're all printed here, and they do various things, and I'll be going over those as I play the cards. When you play a creature, you are going to spend its mana points, and then you're going to choose one lane to put it in. Put it in the top lane or the bottom lane. And your creature will not be able to move between the lanes after you selected a lane. And so if I chose the first lane, it stays in the first lane. It's always going to need to go behind all previous creatures you have there. So suppose I had played this card on a previous turn. If I want to play this card here, if I were to play another creature, such as this Gur, into the same lane, it would have to go behind any previous creature there. But of course I could just place it here. So you can choose either lane, but you have to put the creature at the far most space there. And then after a creature is on the table, they're going to be able to attack and defend during future turns. So let's just go through. So now after we've generated our mana, we have 6 mana, and now we go to phase 2, which is the summoning phase. And so during this phase, we can play creatures and incantations. But again, only cards that are up to 4 spaces to the left. Okay, so I think for my first turn, I'm just going to go ahead and play this alpha. So this is going to cost 5 mana, and so I will have 1 more remaining after this, although I don't believe I'll actually be able to play any more cards. This is 4 attack and 2 toughness, and then it has perforation. And then it has perforation, which allows it to attack 2 creatures, which allows it to attack 2 creatures in a row instead of just 1, and then it has indestructible, which means that it doesn't suffer damage from incantations, and then it has protection, which means, and then it has a shield symbol, which is protection, which means that the first source of damage each turn is reduced to 0. So the first time it suffers any number of damage, it is reduced to 0, and then future attacks can destroy it. So I'm going to play it into the first lane right here. And then I have 1 mana left over, but none of the cards in the first 4 spaces cost 1 mana, so I can't play anything. If I had the zombie here in one of the first 4 spaces, I could play the zombie, which would be nice, but unfortunately I won't be able to play more cards. So now I'm going to go to the 3rd phase of the turn, which is the assault phase. So during this phase, my creatures are going to attack the opponent, and will attack their creatures, or hopefully their bastion/fort. So you're going to activate all the creatures in the first lane before moving on to the second lane, and you're going to activate the creatures from the back to the front. So furthest away from the bridge to the closest to the bridge. So the most recent card you've played will attack before older cards, essentially, unless they move around, which some abilities can do that. But unfortunately, creatures are not able to attack on the turn that they are played unless they have Rage, which is this ability here, and I believe, see, Gur has it here, and Rage allows a creature to attack an opposing creature, not a fort or bastion, but you can attack a creature on the turn it's played. So that's how Rage works. Since my alpha does not have Rage, and I just played him this turn, he won't be able to attack, and so that's going to be the end of my turn. And now, we're going to go to the Ais turn. The enemy is going to have the same 3 phases, but they're going to be working a little bit differently. So first, they're going to generate mana. Now, since they don't have a hand, the way they get mana is a little bit different. Each turn, they're going to get 6 mana, plus 1 for each card I have on the field. So I have 1 creature, my alpha here, so that's going to give them 1 mana, plus their 6 mana, plus their starting 6 mana, so they're going to have 7 mana this turn. Then they're going to play cards from their deck randomly. So we drew the partisan here, and since this is a creature, is going to be placed in the first lane. The second card will be put in the second lane, and then the third card will be put in the first lane, and so on and so forth, alternating between them. And so this card costs 3 mana, and so the AI still has 4 mana. So now we're going to play another card, and this is one's going to go into the second lane, and this is boom. This costs 1 mana, and it's going to be played in the second lane, but this is an incantation. When the player plays an incantation, they can choose any in-play creature to target and damage. But when the AI plays an incantation, they're going to target the closest creature in the lane that they played it in. So boom would be targeting the creature, the first creature in the second lane, but since they don't have any creatures in the second lane, this card is just going to be discarded, and the AI is not going to be paying for the mana cost there. So we still have 4 mana for the enemy, so we're going to draw another card, and this is going to go in the first lane, and this is Annihilation. Now, this costs 4 mana and does 6 damage, but our alpha here has the indestructible ability, which means that it can't suffer damage from incantations, so then there is no legal target for the incantation here, so we're also going to discard this card. We'll go to the next card, and this is an ogre. And this is a creature, and we can play this card. It costs 4 mana, and then we're going to play it right here into the second lane, and this is a creature with 4 attack and 4 defense, and then it has Berserk, which means that when it kills a creature in an attack, it gets to attack again. And then for that second attack, if it kills another creature, it gets to attack again. And if it kills a creature again, it can just keep going. It is kind of scary. Yeah, to be honest, pretty scary. But it is a pretty cool ability when you are actually able to pull it off with one of your creatures. It's just not very fun when it happens to you. Alright then, so now we have used up all of the enemy's mana, so they're going to stop drawing cards. And now we're going to go on to the assault phase. So, both of these creatures have just been played this turn, so normally they would not be able to attack, but this partisan does have rage, which means it's able to attack another creature. So it's going to do 2 damage to the first creature that I have here. So it's going to do 2 damage to my alpha. My alpha has protection, so the first source of damage it takes is reduced to 0. So the 2 damage from the partisan's attack is going to be reduced to 0. So that is pretty cool. They weren't able to touch me at all, which is great. So now it's going to go back to my turn, and now, since I have 1 card out of my hand on the table, I now have 8 cards in my hand, so I'm going to get 8 mana. So I have 8 mana, and we have some nasty enemies to deal with here. So what can I play? So these are the cards I have available to me to choose from, and then if I play some of these cards, I can access these cards in my right hand here. Okay. So I have 8 mana. I could play the Gur and then the Troll, which would be pretty neat. The Gur, is pretty weak stats, 1 and then 3, but then it does have Rage, which is kind of neat. And then the Troll has Rage and then Berserk, so he can attack immediately, and then if he kills someone, then he gets attacked again. Really cool. I enjoy the Troll quite a bit. He's also very powerful with 3 attack and 6 health. That's quite a bit. And then this guy right here, the Revenant, has indestructible and piercing, or sorry, perforation. That means when he attacks, he hits the person that he's targeting and the person behind him. This does not work for the fort though. So it only works for creatures, so if he were to attack the partisan here, he would damage the partisan and then hit whoever's here, and then hit whatever creature is here, but since there is no creature here, it is wasted. That extra damage does not go over to the fort. Alright, and then this guy's quite nice, the Carapace, and he has 0 attack, 4 defense, and then protection. So this is something you want to place kind of in the front of the lane. It takes a bunch of damage without having the enemies be able to target your other creatures. For example, have a Gur back there, or something else like that, which could be pretty nice. I'm just going through the other cards in my hand just so you see more of the abilities. So Combustion is an incantation that does 2 damage and it has Splash, which means that when you target a creature, you're going to hit whoever is directly below him. So if I were to do Combustion, I would be able to actually deal 2 damage to the partisan and take him out. And then the 2 damage would also be dealt, and the 2 damage will also be dealt to the Ogre here because it is directly below the partisan. And one thing I think I failed to mention during my last turn is that you are able to play incantations during the assault phase. So a creature could attack and then you play an incantation. But creatures can only be played during the summon phase. And then finally, Vortex. This is the sprint ability, and when a creature with sprint attacks, you move him to the front of the lane, and then you're going to count the number of spaces he moves over, and that is the bonus he's going to get to his attack for that round. So that's pretty neat, kind of a charge-like ability. And then these 2 arrows here means that this is an aura. So Vortex itself does not have the sprint ability, but because there's the arrows here, that means that the adjacent creatures two Vortex are going to get. So if I were to put Vortex right here, then the Alpha, and then any creature here, would gain Sprint, but the Vortex itself would not have Sprint. So that's how that works. Vortex is a pretty cool card. Alright, so that's all the cards, just a quick rundown of them. And that's actually most of the abilities in the game. Let's see, is there anything else I didn't cover? Nope, that's actually all the abilities in the game. So now you know what they all do. Alright, then, so I have 8 mana. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to play the Troll into my second lane here, and then with my last 2 mana, I'm going to play the Gur behind it, because all creatures must be placed at the end of the lane there. And now, my creatures are going to be able to attack. So, we're going to start in lane 1 here, and the Alpha has played last turn, so he's going to be able to attack. So he's going to do 4 damage to the Partisan, and he has Perforation, so he's going to actually hit whoever's here, but there's no creature there, so it's just going to hit him. That damage is greater than his toughness, so he's going to be destroyed, and he's going to be placed in the enemy's discard pile. Which is great, so now that lane is empty. Then over here, my Gur is going to attack, and he's going to do 1 damage to the Ogre. Now, the reason my Gur can attack is because he has Rage. So he can attack creatures on the turn he's played, and then the Troll is going to attack. He's going to do 3 damage to the Ogre, and kill him, and he also has Rage, which is why he's able to do that. And then he has Berserk, so when he defeats a creature, he will be able to attack again, but because he was just played this turn, he can't attack the fort, so that's not going to go off, but in future turns it could. Alrighty then, so now, that's the end of my turn. Now it's going to go over to the enemy's turn, and they have their 6 mana plus 3, because I have 3 cards, so 9. So we've got over here, this is an Assassin, he's 2. Alright, 6. And here's an interesting thing. They have 3 mana left, and then this card costs 6. And guess what? They still get to play it. I know, it's kind of crazy, but they just somehow managed to get 3 mana out of nowhere. So, good for them. So Cyclone is an incantation that's very powerful. It does 3 damage, and it has Perforation and Splash. So, that means that when you choose somebody, you target somebody, you will hit the person behind him and below or above him based off where he's in the lane. So if you're, and they all take the 3 damage. So if we targeted the Troll here, the Gur would die, the Troll would take 3 damage, and the Alpha would also be damaged. Although he has Indestructible and Protection, so this incantation would do nothing to it. Because it was played in the first lane, it is going to target the Alpha, and it can't damage the Alpha, so the card is going to be discarded. We're going to draw a new one instead, and it is a Brute. And so now, the enemy is actually going to be able to play it, because in total it had 9 mana, and so it's actually going to be spending 10, which is better than it's spending 12 if it was able to play the Cyclone, but still got 2 extra mana, which isn't great. Okay, so now it's going to be able to attack. The Assassin has Rage, so he's going to be able to attack immediately, and he has Sprint, so he's going to be able to hop over all of the other creatures in this lane and get extra attack. That's not going to do anything because he's the only creature in this lane, but suppose he was down here, he would then be able to move up 1, 2 spaces, and he would attack for 3 damage. So that's what Sprint does, but since he's just in this lane, he's going to move forward 0 spaces, and he's still going to do 1 damage to the Alpha. The Alpha has Protection, so that does nothing. Next, both of the Brute and the Brigand were played this round, so they're not going to do anything. And they do not have Rage. So now it's going to go back to us. And since we played 3 cards, we have 6 cards in our hand, so we're going to get 6 mana. Okay, so we can actually access all these cards here, so quite a few options. I think that a really cool thing to do would be to play Combustion right here, targeting the Brigand, and since it has Splash, it's also going to target the Assassin. So it's actually going to kill the Assassin because it's actually going to destroy the Assassin because he has 1 health and does 2 damage, so he's going to go bye-bye, which opens up the lane so the Alpha will be able to hit the tower, and then the Brigand is going to lose 2 of its 6 health, so now it's down to 4, which means that my Gur and Troll will be able to take it out, so that will be really nice. Now, I can actually access all these cards, which is cool, and I still have 3 mana left. Okay, so I think a really cool thing to do would be able to play the Vortex right here, and then let's move everything over just a bit, and then this guy is going to gain Sprint. And then I'll play the Zombie for my last mana, and I will put it right here into lane 1. I should have done this earlier, but my combustion cards should be placed in the rightmost space, so that's right here. Okay, so now I actually don't have many cards in my hand, which could be a problem. We'll see. But then we're going to go over to the assault phase. So first, we're going to go the top right. We're going to go to the top leftmost corner and work our way down. Essentially, is how it works. Start with the zombie. Zombie cannot attack because he was just summoned. Then we're going to go to the alpha, who does 4 damage. So we just discard 4 cards from the top of the deck here. Alrighty, and again, we're trying to drain this deck twice. We have to drain it once, and then shuffle it, and then drain it a second time. And then we win the game. Alright, now, going down here, the Vortex attacks for 0 damage, doing nothing. Then the Gur is going to go, and he has 1 attack, and Rage doesn't do anything on the second. After the first turn, it just allows them to attack immediately. But the Vortex is giving him sprint, so he has 1 attack, but then he's going to move forward 1 space, and he gets +1 attack, so he's going to do 2 damage to the Brigand, who now has 2 health left because Combustion did 2 damage to it earlier. And then the Troll's going to go. Now the Troll also has sprint because of the Vortex, so he's going to go up front, and he's going to have 4 attack and deal 4 damage to the Brigand, defeating it. Because he defeated the Brigand, he's going to go Berserk and attack again. He's going to attack the Brute, and that's unfortunately not going to do anything because the Brute because the Troll's going to do 3 damage to the Brute, and the Brute will still have 2 health. So not going to do anything, unfortunately, but still was able to take out the Brigand and do 4 damage to the base. So that was actually a pretty good turn, although I don't have many cards in my hand. And again, if my tower ever gets to this position in the far rightmost place, it'll be destroyed and I'll have to have my fort. So it is interesting. Now I have less mana for next turn and I'm more vulnerable, but I do have a lot of cards on the table. So we'll see how this goes. Now another bad thing with me having lots of cards on the table is that the enemy is now going to get 6 plus 5 mana. So they have 11. So first, 3. Alrighty. 6. 11 exactly. Wonderful. Alright, so let's just take a look at all these cards here. Lieutenant, 3/1 for stats, and then he has protection. The Shaman gives rage to everyone adjacent to him, and actually it's not going to do anything because the mutant already has rage. And then he has sprint and perforation. Okay, so now we're going to start. And the mutant's going to go first because he's in the first lane and he's furthest away from the bridge. And he has sprint, so he's going to move forward 1 space, get +1 to his attack. And the reason he can attack this turn is because he has rage. And he's going to do 3 damage to my alpha, who has protection, so that's going to reduce to 0. And then he's going to do 3 damage to the zombie because he has perforation. He's going to be able to hit whoever's behind his target. So the zombie is going to be destroyed and added rightmost space of my hand. Okay, down here, the Lieutenant was just played, so he's not going to do anything. Then the Brute is going to do 5 damage to the Troll, so the Troll has 1 health left. But, luckily, the Troll is going to heal at the end of the turn, because at the end of each turn, all creatures heal. So the Troll's back up to 6, and it's my turn. Alright, I actually have access to all 4 of these cards here, because I only have 4 cards in my hand. Again, not counting this tower here. And so, because I have... And so I'm going to get 5 mana, and I have 4 cards in my hand to choose from. So, right here, so far if I didn't play any cards, the Alpha would be able to take out both of these 2 because of his perforation, which is great. And then the Troll and Gur would actually be able to take out the Brute and damage the Lieutenant. Okay, so I think what I want to do is play Combustion, target the Lieutenant. And so that's actually going to, since it has Splash, it's also going to take out, the Shaman, so he's gone. But then the Lieutenant is going to reduce that damage to 0 because of his protection. The reason I wanted to play that card was now my Troll's going to have a clear shot to take out the Lieutenant because he does not have his shield anymore. So now I have 2 mana left, and I'm just going to go ahead and play the Zombie here, and hopefully he'll be able to do something on a future turn. Okay, and then we will go down to the attack phase. So Zombie's not going to do anything again. Hopefully he'll survive this next round and be able to do something, because he has 3 damage. But of course, he only has 1 defense, which is why he keeps on dying. So, the Alpha is going to attack, do 4 damage He would have also been able to take out the Shaman in addition to the Mutant, but the Shaman's already been taken out, so it doesn't quite matter. The Vortex does 0 damage, so it's going to do nothing. And then the Gur is going to get 1 attack, but then he's getting +1 because of the sprint that he's getting from the Vortex. So he's going to do 2 damage to the Brute. Then the Troll is going to sprint up as well, and he's going to do 4 damage to the Brute and defeat him. And because of his Berserk ability, since he defeated the Brute, he's going to be able to attack again, and the Lieutenant has already had his shield broken for the turn, so he is gone as well. Then, since he took out the Lieutenant, he's going to be able to deal 3 damage to the enemy Bastion. Alrighty, I am so glad that this card was discarded, because it has 6 attack and 6 defense and then protection. This guy's a beast when he's on the table, and I'm so glad that he is gone. Just wanted to point that out real quick, and that just brings us 3 spaces closer to the tower. So we're getting close to getting through this first deck here, and we'll have to shuffle it up again and go through it a second time, and then hopefully we'll win the game. Or we could lose, I don't know, either could happen. Alrighty then, so just like last turn, I have 5 cards on the table, so we're going to get 11 mana for the enemy. So he's got 4. The Parasite's really weird. He's 1 attack and 1 defense, but he has Rage, Splash, Perforation, and Berserk. Lots of abilities there, but he's very weak otherwise. And then we have the Carnivore here, so he's going to be placed in the second lane, and now we have 1 mana left, but I really doubt that this card's going to cost 1 mana, so the AI is going to get some free stuff. And yes, he does. He gets 3 free mana, because the Scribe costs 4. There we go. Okay, now all these creatures actually have Rage, so they're all going to be able to attack, which is annoying. So first, the Scribe's going to go. He's going to do 3 damage to the Alpha, and that's going to be blocked by his shield. Then the Parasite is going to attack the Alpha, the Zombie, and the Troll, because he has Splash and Perforation. So first, the Alpha is going to take 1 damage, so he has 1 health left. Then the Parasite's going to attack the Zombie, who is defeated again. And then the Parasite's going to attack the Troll, who now has 5 health left. Moving down here, the Carnivore is going to sprint forward, but he doesn't move any spaces, so he's going to do 2 damage to the Troll, who now has 3 health left. And then he's going to have Splash, and he's going to attack the Alpha as well, who has 1 health left, so he's actually going to be defeated. So these don't actually hit me at all, which is good, and my Troll's still alive, but lane 1 isn't doing so well. Alright, now going back to my turn, I now have 6 mana, because I have 6 cards in my hand, and I can play these 4 cards here. Now, I really want to play the Alpha, so maybe I could just play the Zombie and the Alpha again, and hopefully they won't die again. But let's see what else we could do. So I think what I want to try doing is playing the Zombie into lane 2. Maybe he will have better luck surviving if he is in lane 2. We'll just have to see about that. And then I have 5 mana left, so I'll play the Alpha back into lane 1. So now we're going to go. So the Zombie would attack, but he is unable to because he was just played. Seems like a recurring event here. The Vortex again does no damage because he has 0 attack. The Girl is going to charge forward and deal 2 damage to the Carnivore, who has 4 health left. And the Troll's going to charge forward and do exactly 4 damage to the Carnivore, which takes him out. Then he's going to be able to Berserk and attack again for 3, taking out these cards here. And now, there we go. So the Bastion is revealed, so we're going to flip it over to the fort. And so I'm going to shuffle this up and then put this right on top. And we'll just have to go through this deck one more time, and then I will win the game. Alright, so this is all shuffled up, and now we're going to put this back on top of the card here, but now it's fort side up. So now, when we get through this deck, discard all these cards here, then we'll destroy the fort, and we will have won the game. So we are halfway there. So we are hopefully halfway to winning. So hopefully this will go well for us, but we will have to see. The enemy's still going to have 11 mana because I have my 5 cards out here. And so we'll see what happens. Alright, 2 mana. 9 mana. Alright, so that's 9 mana between those 2 cards, and then this card, well, you get 5 free mana. Oh boy. Must be the lucky day, I suppose. Okay, so first off, this guy's going to go. He has sprint, so he's going to move up front, and he skipped over 3 enemies, so he's going to attack for 5, but that's all going to be reduced to 0 because of protection here. Then we're going to go to the Scribe, who's going to do 3 damage and take out the Alpha. And then the Parasite is going to attack. There's no one to block, so it's going to do 1 damage to me. So I'll move this card right here. And since he attacked my tower, he is not actually going to be able to do splash damage and hit the Troll. Okay, the Aberration here who has a lot of abilities, most of the abilities in the game actually, but he is going to attack since he has range, and he is going to do 2 damage to the troll, and since he has perforation, he's also going to do 2 damage to the Gur. Now, what this guy gets really deadly is when he has sprint, and he's going to be able to actually go over someone, get some bonus attack, and then if he kills someone, he gets to attack them again, and then do perforation again. It can get really nasty, but luckily he gets pluses. He doesn't get any bonuses from his sprint, and both of these people survive, so he doesn't get to attack again, which is great. But things aren't looking too great in this lane 1. There's 4 enemies there, and lots of bad stuff could happen. So, back to my turn. I have 5 mana, and this is kind of annoying because I could play a 3 mana card, or I could play the 5 mana card. There's no way I can play 2 cards, which is not what I like. Alright, so I think I'm going to play this card right here. He has a protection, and then he has 4 defense, so hopefully he'll be able to withstand several hits here. Then I can't play anything else because I have 2 mana left, and nothing here costs 2. That stinks. The reason I played the Carapace over the Alpha is simply because his toughness is higher. The Alpha wouldn't actually be able to get an attack out on my next turn during the attack phase, and then he'd just be annihilated from this wave of enemies here. But this guy should have more of a fighting chance, should be able to soak up more hits than the Alpha would be able to. Okay, so now going here, the zombie's finally going to do something. He's going to charge forward because of the vortex 3 spaces. So he's going to do 6 damage and just completely wipe out this guy right here. The Gur is going to be able to charge forward 2 spaces and do 3 damage to the enemy's base. And then the Troll is going to charge forward 2 spaces and do 5 damage to the enemy base. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Alrighty then. All those cards are in the discard pile, so now the deck is looking much smaller after that. But there's a big chance that we could just be completely destroyed by a lot of these attacks here. So now we're going to get 11 mana for the enemies as usual. The Assassin going to come out, lane 1, Shaman, and that's 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh my goodness. He just gets 5 mana out of nowhere. That's crazy. And also, he has Berserk, or rather, not Berserk, but range because of the Shaman. So, this is not looking good. So, the Reptile is going to move forward 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spaces, but all that 6 damage is going to be reduced to 0 because of the Carapace's shield. And then the Assassin, though, is actually going to do the exact same thing, and actually just take it out. So, destroyed, and then this guy's going to do 5 damage. Moving this over 5 spaces, so 1, 2, and luckily, the leftover damage will not be carrying over to the fort side, so that's just going to be placed there, no extra damage is going to be dealt. But then the Scribe is going to do 3 damage and move it over 1, 2, 3 spaces, and then the Parasite's actually going to move it over 1 space, and now I'm dead. Oh man, that stinks. Well, let's just continue playing and I'll see what happened. The Carnivore would do sprint forward and do 4 damage to me, so that's even worse. And then the Martyr is actually going to be able to take out my Troll in just 1 hit because of his range. And yeah, that's how it's ending. So that's really unfortunate. Just kind of a swing turn of events. I was doing really well, and then all of a sudden I'm doing really poorly. Hope this video was helpful to you. Just getting a feel for the game. The game is very fast, and I should have a review up for this game in a couple of weeks. So that you can know what I feel about the game. The game is very quick, very fast, although I have found it's pretty swingy. So more of my thoughts during my review, but those are just some quick notes right there. But I hope you all enjoyed this video. I hope it was helpful to you. If this game does look like something you'd enjoy, in a couple of weeks, the Season 2 for this game will be launching on Kickstarter, with the reprint of the starter deck, which is what I have here, and then 6 new expansions, which I believe are all the same size as the starter deck, so pretty cool if you have all of them. Something like 216 cards. So that's over 200 cards right there. You'll be able to build decks with, and again, you're just using 8 cards in your deck, so Lots of combinations there. Anyways, that's something you can look forward to. If you did enjoy this video and it was helpful to you, please like it and consider subscribing to MalStorm Gaming and hitting that bell icon so you can see more content just like this whenever I upload it. And until next time, happy gaming.